Hey everybody, it's Doug Green and I'm the publisher of Technology Reseller News. And I'm very pleased to have with me again Evan Tomlin, who's the CTO of Hyperion. Evan, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for taking the time, Doug. Look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
So we're going to be talking about IoT services, end-to-end services, end-to-end IoT services, specifically channel-friendly end-to-end
Yes.
IoT services. So that's going to be our topic. I'm glad we're going to be talking about that. We haven't really touched on that a lot this spring. So before we dive into it, Evan, tell us a little bit about Hyperion.
Yeah, interesting versus kind of where we started and where we are, right, in our journey. So I won't give the full biography, but started as the largest primary agent partner of Sprint and a totally dominant player in that ecosystem, providing hardware, providing services primarily around that hardware, lifecycle services, some support, logistics, buyback, things of that nature. And that was all about teaming with Sprint account reps in the field to get deeper and wider in their client base. And then, of course, like any agent, the business lived off activation commission. That's how the business started. But what it actually has become, with a ton of growth and a ton of diversity and development in the last 3 to 4 years, there's three identities of the business, right? The first is a really interesting group of partners ranging from very large distributors, VARs, MSPs, solution providers, SIs, just keep the acronym parade going, teaching and enabling our partners to monetize wireless, right? And that might be as simple as, connecting an iPad. It might be a really idiosyncratic IoT solution. It might be cellular networking. And many permutations in between. That's the first identity of the business. The second is we do have a direct customer base, and we are a VAR, we are a managed mobility services provider, a lifecycle services provider, and a field installation services provider. That's an opportunistic area for us, and it's a growing area. But we always love to prioritize our partners in terms of their direct engagements with the customers. But we also have a direct go-to-market as well. And third, and this is kind of what's on the table today, is we're an IoT solutions provider. And those IoT solutions are often sold through our channel network. We do have some direct business there, but it's really all about enabling that big basket of partners, all the way from very large companies to small traditional sub-agents, who are looking to increase the wallet share inside of their direct customer relationships and are often sort of stuck. I know this is a story you've heard many times over the years, are stuck in certain product categories and have margin compression or have reduced growth or what have you, other headwinds. We can give a diverse product offering, and it, I think, helps get identities shifted in front of the customer a bit, and it also helps sell really healthy products in terms of their margin and in terms of their stickiness inside the customer environment. So, short question, very long answer.
So when you say it changes the identity, are you saying that IoT enables the channel partner to be seen as something different? Maybe
Yes.
he's been pigeonholed, sort of. Is that the deal? Yeah.
I think it is, and we actually spend a lot of time talking about this strategically inside of our business, because again, I'm going to rehearse a lot of concepts here that are shop worn here, but it's easy to talk about diversifying wallet share with a customer or getting deeper and wider or selling or doing different things. I think credibility and right to win and addressable market are more important concepts, more pivotal concepts inside of that conversation. So it's probably unlikely that I've been doing CCAS, UX, UCAS for years and years, and then I show up and I'm a really highfalutin system integrator working on Oracle. Right? That's an odd identity shift, and that's probably not, you're going to struggle with credibility there. But what we focus on are the adjacent areas where there's not going to be a credibility stretch, where perhaps you're even talking to the same buyer for years and years. It's just you're going deeper and wider inside the wallet of that buyer. So I'll give you an example. We have a couple of partners that are just heavy long-term UCAS on the advisory level for a basket of customers. It turns out that the UCAS buyer is also the network buyer, and the network buyer has all sorts of concerns that same channel partner of ours might address. So I'm thinking of a particular case where the network buyer was looking to stand up about 50 some odd retail stores, did not want to go through fixed line telecom, and instead wanted to stand up cellular routers. So they sold a different product with a different service to the same buyer in a very adjacent way, and were able to diversify wallet share, get into a higher margin business, but still maintain credibility and right to win inside of that conversation.
So, you know, you're selling more than one solution when it comes to IoT too.
That's
In other
correct.
words, a lot of people come on the podcast and, they legitimately say, oh, we sell this or that type of solution. But you guys have what you've described as a vast IoT platform.
That's correct. Yep. So our IoT portfolio really splits into three parts. And by the way, the name of that business for us is Vast, and we stack products inside of that Vast portfolio, and I'll address three of them, at least for the purpose of today's
So
call.
it's actually called
So,
vast. It's
yeah,
not just described as vast. It is called vast.
it is Vast, and it's a wholly owned subsidiary. Like we have built all of the infrastructure around Vast. So that's the company. There's Vast staff. There's folks that do nothing but manage our, upstream suppliers, any subcontracting we do, go to market packagings, sales, pre-sales, delivery, et cetera. So Vast is a self-contained unit inside of our broader business at Hyperion, right? So we put some fairly significant investment around that, and Vast breaks into really three parts. So the first is multi-carrier connectivity, right? So there's been a lot of talk about this for a long time, and it's a fairly crowded market. And there's a lot of folks that have done it in pieces and parts, but we've really put a complete multi-carrier connectivity solution together such that the customer can have confidence that they're getting economically aggressive pricing, but they also have access to all of the relevant terrestrial wireless carriers in the US. So I'll give you an actual customer scenario. So think about um, buses, right? So you've got buses. These are obviously not fixed locations. You've got depots and hubs, and then buses are traversing hundreds of miles in all sorts of different directions. There's going to be sensitivities in the macro network in that scenario, where even if you've got really strong coverage here, you might not have it there on the same day. So the ability to give seamless multi-carrier connectivity that will be adaptive to the network performance condition and then switch over to the carrier that has the best connection, that's vital. But by the way, it's not just terrestrial carriers that we've now kind of packed into that service. We also have the ability to have the terrestrial carriers plus Starlink. So you have a very circumspect scenario when it comes to, okay, what is the best performance I can possibly get given my exact location? And then we have the solution that can work in any number of hardware platforms to ensure that the customer gets most resilience, reliability, and performance inside of that scenario. That's first, right? So think of multi-carrier connectivity. Second is we have an asset tracking solution. And again, a lot of players in asset tracking, but ours takes a very I'm going to say skinny view. It's called slap and track, right? So if what you need is reliable dots on a map with reliable connectivity, and you don't need a bunch of other bells and whistles that are being supplied by providers that I'm sure most of the folks watching this are already aware of, then again we can take our multi-carrier connectivity strength, we can apply it to slap and track dots on a map. Where are my high value assets, and am I getting real time reporting from reliable network connectivity? And we can thread that solution, and that's number two. And then three is really all about cellular networking. The promise of a lot of the conversation around how to monetize wireless with your customers, when you think about where the dollars get really interesting, especially if you're diversifying into this wallet share, is around cellular networking. So I may have traditionally gone to a fixed line ISP or, had any number of configurations on, think about some of the major players in the networking gear space like Cisco or what have you. How can I plug in a really lightweight, fully bundled solution that gives me excellent network performance, big bandwidth in the plan, reasonably priced hardware, all in one management in terms of performance, security, provisioning, et cetera? We can literally hand the entire package off through the channel partner to sell to the customer. That's connectivity, hardware, deployment, management, cybersecurity, et cetera. Here it is, turn the key, and you've got cellular WAN effectively within hours or within minutes. Versus waiting months and months for a traditional carrier to dig out to a location or what have you. So those are the three things in that vast IoT portfolio that we're really focusing on. And again, we're focusing on those adjacent scenarios, right? Where are you selling to that same economic buyer? Where are you touching adjacencies in the project? And you can bring more to that conversation than you could have yesterday. That's really our focus.
Now, with all that, are you seeing increased interest in 5G services?
Significant, and it probably is most pointed in that cellular networking bundle, because the simple fact is there's been a massive arms race amongst the three carriers, right? Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T, to build out the most performant, scalable 5G networks, and they're hunting different bear than they were hunting a decade ago, right? A decade ago, it's, hey, we've had this mobility revolution. We've got iOS and Android. We have all these third-party ISV apps, and we need certain network connectivity such that the customer could have something less than a bad experience using traditional mobility. Now the networks capability are putting them into different scenarios where the performance of 5G, especially in certain areas where there's been significant build out, is now superseding really any other networking choice, and it can be stood up very quickly. So you're compressing time to value in the traditional networking space, right? So I'll give you an example back to retail. If what I really, I won't name the customer, but you can infer it, one of the largest retail oil and gas shops in the US. If you've got 53 locations that don't have great networking options, and you can stand up 5G WAN in days or hours, it's going to be very attractive. And you have performance, and then you have redundancy and failover and everything else built in. 5G plus edging into traditional networking use cases is very exciting.
Who should sell VAST?
I would say that to credibly sell it, if you have a customer relationship where there's any use cases that cut across sort of those three domains that I was just outlining, and you have any sort of relationship with the economic buyer of those use cases today, whether it be multi-carrier connectivity, whether it be fleet management, asset tracking, or cellular networking, if you're touching anyone in there, right, from the traditional networking buyer to the person that's running maybe mobility or wireless spend inside of the company, or on the business side, the person that's running the fleet in the company, if you've got any sort of those relationships, this can start very small and scale, right? So this is not something where we look at it and say, no, it's a minimum of 5,000 units to get going. This really plays well to SMB up to lower middle market, and then scales up from there. So it's really anyone in the channel with those relationships that can benefit from it.
So are there like technical requirements for me to go do this?
No. No. And this is
Really?
where we come in, because what we ask is, do you have a credible relationship with the economic buyer? Are you adjacent to those services and products? Simply partner with us, and you'll have a very interesting margin structure, but you'll also have turnkey services from sales, pre-sales, enablement, contracting, delivery, managed services, lifecycle services, and everything in between. Right. So what we try to do is actually bring that entire capability into the channel. Now, if we have a channel partner that's very passionate about certain pieces of those services, executing it themselves directly to their customers, that's fine. Right. So we can give you the Lego blocks, or we can give you the whole set that's built. Right. So it's partnering your way is I think the best means of getting VAST off the ground inside of those channel relationships.
And what about technical support? Is this available? And I'm also talking about, how deep do I need to go in terms of my own knowledge about this before I can go out and try to sell it?
I think that part is important, right? So if you've got like a four level curriculum, we're not going to ask you to get on the 400 level as a channel partner, but we are going to ask you we're going to ask you to scrape the 100 level to say, what is the stuff? What are the components?
We do the for the dummies level.
Exactly. It's
right. Okay.
What is this made of? What's the product? What's the service? What's the use case it addresses? what's the market problem it's solving, what's the value it's creating. That's going to be a very business sales oriented conversation. And we
Right.
may bump down into a 200 level when we start talking about, some nuances around carrier switching and the multi-carrier product, or et cetera. That's fine. So we want to get you as a partner sales enabled. We want to get the talk track, and then we want to get great collaboration with our team that can handle everything else, including deployment, technical support, et cetera.
So it's really, you go out there, you know enough to get around, but then you leave the driving to us kind of thing, right?
Totally.
Right. Now,
and if you have a certain hill that you're going to die on as a partner to say, hey, we do deployment all day long. If you want truck roll, that's what we do. We'll say, absolutely. We'll do everything else. You'll handle the truck roll, and we'll integrate that service. So
yeah, we have a lot of white label people out there. Is this possible? Can this be done by white labeled partners?
it can, and that's the really interesting thing. I mean, it's interesting about wholesale wireless business writ large, and it also applies to VAST. There's no distribution tier limitations. So this can be seamlessly white labeled and sold as such, right? No problem at all. Or it can be just referred in as VAST. Right? So it plays really well into either scenario.
So you can actually go out there and brand VAST on your own.
Correct.
And do you have that happening now?
We do, yeah, with a handful of partners. Now, one of the things about white labeling, and this is an industry comment more than it is a VAST comment. The problem with white labeling, as you're aware, is anyone who can use LinkedIn, things get a little dodgy, right? So if I'm talking to someone that is white labeled and I just query them on LinkedIn, I'm like, wait a minute, you don't work for that company, what have you? But we can absolutely take this product and totally brand it underneath another brand. It's when you get into the technical services, you're dealing with people, you're dealing with support, you're dealing with deployment. It's really hard to sort of hold fidelity on a white label all the way across. So some people choose to do it, but I would say it's the minority case.
Well, Evan, I really want to thank you for joining me today. It's always interesting. And I love the idea that you're opening the door for a lot of our readers, a lot of our channel partners to do some wins with IoT, and actually bigger picture to make some gains and wins on wireless and mobility, 5G, play in that market, and not have to. I love the idea they just scratch the surface just enough, and you guys take care of the rest. So
that's exactly right. And thanks for having me. It's a great conversation, and I want to make it clear that it's really come one, come all, right? If you've got that relationship, you've got those concepts, we'll train, we'll enable, we'll service, we'll do the whole thing. It's just we need the dots connected, and we'll start small and scale from there. So look forward to engaging with this your partner community.
So even if it's a little bit outside of your usual comfort zone, don't be fearful. Take a look, kick the tires, or take a look at this.
The way to open up new business is to get started somewhere. So let's go from there.
And we all can agree 5G's got to be the frontier of where that's going to happen. Absolutely. Where can we learn more and explore all this?
You can go to our website, which I think you've listed here, hyperionpartners.net and vast.global. So we'll take care of your bundled IoT solution needs, and then we'll also handle the wireless monetization enablement, and we'll go pretty interesting journey together.
Okay, everybody, you heard it here first. It's a come as you are opportunity. Just walk in the door and see what happens.
That's exactly right. Thank you for that.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about this one, but for now, thanks very much indeed, Evan.
Thanks, Doug. Have a good day.